Last time we discussed crop rotation and how it could benefit the soil by providing it with some extra nutrients. But a primary way in which farmers provide the plant with nutrients is using chemical fertilizers. This allows the farmer to provide all of the necessary nutrient for the plant so that it can perform as best that it can. Unfortunately, although they are beneficial in the short term, in the long term they are quite harmful to the soil and the environment. This is for various reasons. Firstly, the fertilizers could seep into various rivers and other waterways, polluting it, but it has also been shown to go into the air and pollute the air. Not only that, but it can also be harmful to the crop itself. Have you ever noticed that whenever you're in a lab in science class, you have to wear a lab coat and safety goggles? This is, in part, to protect you against acid burns. The same thing can happen to plants, except that they don't have any protection against it, meaning that if the wrong dosage is given, it could severely damage the plants. Lastly, it can also lead to soil acidification, making the soil unsuitable for future generations. But by far the worst part of it all is the price itself. Not only is it not beneficial to the crop, but it's also incredibly expensive to buy chemical fertilizers, ranging from $857 to $1,318 per ton in late 2022. This may not sound like a lot, but it's important to consider that farmers will need to buy large amounts of it. If we imagine the average farm having around 251 acres, they will need to buy between 10 and 50 tons of fertilizers, meaning that at best they're spending $8,570 per year, and at worst they're spending $65,900 per year on fertilizer alone. But what else can they do? Well, as discussed, there is first of all crop rotation, but also cover crops. As discussed, crop rotation means planting one thing, then the next year you plant something else that can utilize the nutrients produced by the last plant's mulch to grow better. Cover crops are somewhat similar, but they are grown solely to be cultivated back into the ground, releasing all of their nutrients. The benefit is that the farmer doesn't even really lose all that much money because they can be planted over the winter when they typically don't have anything else planted, and the seeds are typically quite cheap. Other solutions are organic sources of fertilizer, for instance cow manure, in which if a farmer already has cows, then instead of getting rid of the manure, which is typically seen as a byproduct, they use a manure spreader and use it as a fertilizer. Another option is to let animals such as chickens actually go onto the field and eat some of the remains of the crop, releasing manure naturally onto the field. This is somewhat flawed, however, as it could also lead to ground compaction, which isn't as beneficial, which is why it's typically done with small animals such as chickens. Finally, they can use things like biochar, which is made by burning biological matter such as forestry waste, which has been shown to give significant amounts of nitrogen and other nutrients.